So they've arrived apparently in Las Vegas. What do I mean by that? Did you know that Zebec recently made a post saying how they're on the ground in Las Vegas? Now I'll get more into what I mean by this later on in the video, but I first want to explain how nothing I say is financial advice and how I'm not telling anyone to do anything. This is just purely my perspective. So them being in Las Vegas, I like this because it's another incremental step towards, of course, Simon, the CEO of Zebec, attending XRP Las Vegas as a keynote speaker, and hypothetically, he's going to be announcing a major announcement while he's being a keynote speaker there. So that's something I'm looking forward to. But even besides that, they're apparently going to be in Las Vegas from April 29th to May 1st. So they're going to be there a day before, basically, when it comes to XRP Las Vegas, because XRP Las Vegas starts at April 30th, that event or conference or whatever, I'd like to call that. But even besides that, again, they're going to be there a day before. First of all, it shows preparation. It shows that they actually care. And some people like to say, well, why didn't they go there like a week before? Well, I mean, there's kind of no need, right? What are they going to do there? Watch David Copperfield or whatever? I mean, I don't know if he's still playing there, but I'm just saying, like, I always see his billboard or whatever at the MGM. But yeah, besides that point, when I take a look at, let's say in the case of Zebec, I like this. I like how they're kind of documenting their journey and kind of having a vlog type of style, right? Kind of, updating people about what they're going to be doing. So I do like that. It shows that they care, especially when it comes to the world of businesses, let's say, even just excluding the space. When I want to eat at a restaurant or when I want to just go to a car workshop or whatever, I like it if, let's say, they do a lot of stuff online, like on social media and stuff like that. It just gives me more of a, I think, relaxed vibe, right? It just gives more of an inviting sort of feeling. So I do like seeing that when it comes to Zebec. Some other projects out there, they're very kind of serious. They don't want to update anything. But I just wonder why, though, right? A lot of these projects, they're very community driven. So without the community being there, sometimes these projects can't really do much at all, if anything, in terms of popularity, in terms of notoriety. So I don't get why they don't care about that type of stuff. But even besides that point, when I take a look at in the case of Zebec, I do like how, at least they're caring about the community, and why wouldn't they? They have around 103,000 holders as of right now, around 103,000. Keep in mind, when I was making videos early on this year, the holders was around 96,000. Then we saw the Stellar partnership, the amount of holders started to incrementally increase to around 100,000. Now that we're kind of hypothetically approaching that XRP Las Vegas conference, we're seeing the amount of holders yet again kind of increase by around 3,000 basically. So that is something that I do find very interesting. So imagine if Simon, the CEO of Zebec, announces a Ripple partnership. What would happen if that is the case? The keyword is if. If the amount of holders maybe, continue to kind of hypothetically go in the trend in which it is doing as of right now, it wouldn't surprise me. In terms of not too long ago, we saw around 96,000. Now it's around 103,000. Who knows? Maybe if there is a Ripple partnership announced, 105,000, 110,000, who knows? But it wouldn't surprise me, just because if the Stellar partnership alone and how that caused the amount of holders to go from around 96,000 to around 100,000, a Ripple partnership, if it did maybe way more, I guess it wouldn't surprise me, just considering how, if we take a look at it, Ripple is just way more famous than Stellar. Don't get me wrong, I'm a big fan when it comes to Stellar. I love the Stellar blockchain. It's known for its speed, so I do really like that. But at the same time, Ripple is just way more popular, right? Actually, I've been recording my second video when it comes to Zebec, but I just want to mention this because every time I don't mention it, everyone likes to remind me of it, even though I mentioned it a bunch of times. But even besides that, sure, a lot of people are anticipating a hypothetical Ripple partnership, but we've already seen XRPL be one of the supported chains when it comes to Zebec. Again, I just want to clarify that, and I even forgot to mention it when I was recording the previous video before this. But I just remembered that, if I don't mention that, people are just going to keep telling me that, oh, they already did that when it comes to XRPL. Yes, that's true. But we haven't seen an actual Ripple partnership. Every time I don't mention it, people like to tell me that I should. So, here we are. I mentioned it yet again. But even besides that point, keep in mind, XRP has around 500,000 holders. So around 500,000 holders. In which case, we got to think about that. That's around 5 times more than Zebec as of right now. So when it comes to Zebec, people like to say, but, who would really care about that? Well, keep in mind, a lot of people from the Stellar community started to understand what Zebec was after that Stellar partnership was announced. We've seen that. So imagine what a Ripple partnership could do. If some people who care about Ripple and maybe didn't really know too much about Zebec, maybe they might take a look at this. Who knows, right? I'm just saying, this is a pure hypothetical, but we did see that when it comes to Stellar. So if we did see that maybe to a bigger scale when it comes to Ripple, it wouldn't necessarily surprise me either. Now, not to mention, if I take a look at, let's say in the case of Zebec, people like to say, but who really cares if they even have a Ripple partnership? Well, I think a lot of people would actually care because that is such a massive milestone at the end of the day. I mean, now again, is Ripple partnered with a lot of other things currently? Yeah, it is. But at the same time, that'd be a very big accomplishment for Zebec. It wouldn't be such a big accomplishment for Ripple, right? But Zebec would arguably, I think, have more of an impact towards it. So I don't think it's a bad thing at the end of the day. Not to mention, people like to tell me that, sometimes they see the holders when it comes to Zebec and they see that sometimes like a certain like address or whatever holds a lot, but we have to consider just kind of the nature of Zebec. Let me explain what I mean by this. We've seen historically OKX Ventures, Coinbase Ventures, Solana Ventures, they're a backer when it comes to Zebec. Not to mention Circle. Now Circle is the creator of what? It's the creator of USDC. The thing is this, Zebec admittedly, right, and this is not even according to me, they themselves admitted in a post that Circle holds a significant amount of Zebec. Now, that's not according to me again. That's what they posted. So when people like to say, well, why does this address hold a lot of Zebec and all this? Well, it's because due to the nature of Zebec having those backers like that, it wouldn't make me surprised that, they hold in some cases quite a significant amount of Zebec, which I don't think is necessarily a bad thing because my kind of perspective is this. When it comes to something like, let's say, Circle, do they really have a need to kind of, I guess, let go of their Zebec? I mean, personally for me, if I just want to take a look at this logically, Zebec as of right now has a market cap that is around 330 million. The thing is this, even if, let's say, this is just a pure hypothetical, but I'm just saying, even if, let's say, Circle held 100% of this, which they clearly, of course, don't, but I'm just saying, imagine if they did. Like, that is kind of peanuts, actually, compared to how massive they are. Keep in mind, Circle is publicly listed. Not to mention, if we take a look at USDC, what's the current market cap of that? It's around 77 billion. So if we take a look at, in the case of 330 million, it's not even 1% of that. That's the thing. So I'm just saying, like, does Circle really need Zebec at the end of the day? I just don't think so in a literal sense. Now, maybe because they like the fundamentals, who knows? But I'm just saying, in an actual, literal, logical sense, do they really need Zebec? They kind of don't really. I think in my personal perspective, if I would just assume, because assuming, again, just how massive they are. So when people have to say, isn't it a bad thing that Circle holds a big amount of Zebec, or this other backer holds a big amount of Zebec, or this other entity holds a big amount of Zebec? No, it doesn't concern me because, again, the backers that did back Zebec, they're so massive to the point that, if anything, if they did hold quite a big amount of Zebec, I think it's a net positive because arguably, I think it gives it a little bit more hypothetical stability, right? I mean, again, imagine if, let's say, there was no backers like that. It's just 100% retail for whatever reason. Sometimes the retail market, they could easily kind of don't care about it. Sometimes they don't necessarily think about it as a long-term type of thing, right? Whereas some of these large entities, they usually think about more so of the long term. Their time horizon typically in some cases isn't like months or weeks or a couple of days or whatever. Sometimes their time horizon is years. So I don't know why that would be a bad thing when it comes to Zebec. People like to tell me, oh, it's not such a good thing that Circle holds a big amount of Zebec. But why though, right? So what? I'd rather have the retail market just hold all of that. I mean, I would actually like it better if Circle did hold quite a big amount of Zebec, which apparently they do. So I don't know why it's a bad thing. However, just due to the nature of Zebec, of course, it's an altcoin. It's never going to have the hypothetical stability that something like a Bitcoin, for instance, has. There's just no way, let alone something like Ethereum, because even though Ethereum is an altcoin, like, of course, Ethereum is just way more massive. So, of course, Zebec, it'll never see kind of the stability of like a BNB, you know, something like, for instance, in the case of Ethereum, something like that. It's just never going to see that. But again, if it could see just a glimpse of that due to kind of the, I guess, backers that we've seen historically when it comes to Zebec and how apparently something like Circle allegedly holds quite a big amount of Zebec, if that could even just give it a little bit more hypothetical stability, I'm not going to complain. Like, I don't think it's a bad thing, actually, personally, for me. I can't speak on anyone's behalf, but that's just the way to take a look at it. So when it comes to Zebec, yeah, sure, it's still down by around 200 million in terms of market cap compared to its peak last year. But at the end of the day, Zebec, while other projects out there, you know, had a 95% pullback from its peak last year, in some cases, even more than that, I just haven't seen that when it comes to Zebec. Granted, it's still an altcoin, it still had a pullback, but I'm just saying, maybe I think Circle holding quite a big amount of Zebec, if that had something to do with how, I guess, relatively okay Zebec is holding up, it wouldn't necessarily surprise me. That's just the way to take a look at it. Entities out there, sometimes when they see things dip like 5, 10, 15%, in some cases they're not like, oh wow, you know, we're out. Sometimes, again, their time horizon is years. But that's just, again, the way I hypothetically take a look at it. But again, I'll be sure to make more updates when it comes to Zebec moving forward. So hopefully y'all stay tuned for that. I just want to say thank you for watching, and I hope you all have a very nice day. It's been Lee the Captain. I'm out. Peace. Bye.